And welcome back to TalkingSports.tv here at Charlie Fitz Whiskies. You know, it's not often that I stroke very many people, you know that. But we are absolutely blessed right now to have on the line with us one of the greatest players in NHL history, I'd say certainly in the top 10, NHL legend and Hall of Famer Mark Messier. And Mark, thanks so much for joining us here at Charlie Fitz Whiskies.
Very much. Great to be on with you guys.
Now, Josh Rimmer has a bunch of questions for you. He'll fire away. But also joining us right now on the set to chat with you, Mark, is Brian Wilkes. Do you remember Brian? Because you went to training camp with him a few years back.
Yeah, a few years back. That's right. But I do remember Brian, of course.
Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Mark, first I want to get your thoughts on maybe the offseason. There's been a lot of big signings in the NHL. I just want to get your thoughts on maybe which team really improved themselves in the offseason the most. Maybe a team that you like the moves that they made in the offseason to make their team better and maybe go a little bit farther than they have in the past.
Well, I think there's been a lot of moves, as you know, like you talk about. You look at some teams that got a lot of young guys in Colorado, Tampa Bay, and of course you got the teams that have always been strong the last few years in Pittsburgh and Boston, and the Rangers should have a good year. There's so much parity in the league right now that anybody on any given year, depending on how it goes for them, and injuries and a little bit of luck here and there, it's really wide open nowadays, which I think it makes it such a great game for the fans.
Now, Mark, one guy that made the change in the offseason, Daniel Alfredsson, was with the Ottawa Senators since he came into the league. Obviously, you began with the Edmonton Oilers and then went over to the New York Rangers. How tough is it for someone on the team, to spend that much time with one club and then move on to a second club, after spending so much time with the previous one?
Yeah, there's definitely an adjustment period for sure. Even as much experience as Daniel has, he'll find that there's an adjustment period for sure. I think the benefit that he has there, he has a few of his Swedish friends that are playing in Detroit there, so I think it'll make the transition easier. But I still think that, when you've kind of given your heart and soul like he has to Ottawa, and he's made the decision to leave and join another team, there's definitely a transition period there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, but there will be a difference for him there, and I expect him to be able to handle it, of course, because of his experience there, but he'll definitely feel it as the season goes on.
You're watching TalkingSports.tv here at Charlie Fitz Whiskies, Marty York, Josh Rimmer, and Brian Wilkes, former NHLer, who has a question now for the great Mark Messier.
Hey, Mess, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. I just wanted to get your feeling about the game today as compared to 20, 25 years ago, and what you think the biggest differences are and the changes in the game, and if you think the changes are for the better or maybe not as good as the game was played 20, 25 years ago when you played.
And you played.
And I played, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been just obviously some huge changes. I think we really addressed some of those changes coming out after the lockout in 2005, I guess it was, where we really needed to get the entertainment value back into the game. We needed to get the speed and the artistry and the skill back in the game and put it on display. And so I think we did a good job of coming out of that lockout and recognizing that and opening up the game for the fans' enjoyment. Hockey should be a great game and a fun game and a fast game to go watch. And I think it was getting bogged down by the hooking and holding and the things that Mary Lemieux had talked about throughout his career, and finally came to the forefront, and we addressed that. Came out of the lockout, and I think the game is better now. I think if you have to pinpoint one thing that you would talk about that's been the biggest difference in our game, I think it's obviously the goaltending. I think the goaltending position is probably the most improved and probably the single most reason why maybe goal scoring is down as opposed to maybe the mid-'80s with the Oilers and the teams back then and Mario and Brett Hull scoring 80-some goals. But I think overall, I think the game is in great stead right now. We got probably as better players all at one time in the league than we've ever had at any one time. And that says a lot with the great players that came out of the 80s in our era there. But, the talent just seems to keep coming. The parity is great. The skills back into the game. You can be a lot of different types of players are making the NHL now. You can have your small skilled guys and, of course, your big, strong checkers and your enforcers. So there's a wide variety of players that are still making it, which I think is good for the fans. And, of course, the parity makes it very exciting.
Our guest is a legendary Mark Messier, and Mark, we're based in Toronto, so a lot of people are wondering how the Maple Leafs might do this season. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it was heartbreaking for everybody last year to see them play so well and come so close to winning that series against Boston. They played unbelievable hockey all year long. They should be proud of themselves. At the start of the season, I don't think anybody really penciled them in to make the playoffs. But they played well, and they played well as a team. As you know, the most important thing is not how good you are, but how well you play as a team. And they got themselves in the playoffs, and by all rights, probably should have won that series. So I expect them to bounce back and to get, once they've got that taste of it now, to have a strong season. But nothing's guaranteed. You got to have a strong season to make the playoffs in the National Hockey League now, and in order to do that, you got to have a strong, consistent season, and you got to stay away from injuries, and you got to stay away from extended losing streaks.
Mark, Josh Rimmer here again. Last one before we let you go. I just want to know what's the future for you, Mark? What would you like to do in hockey?
Well, as you know, I resigned my position with the Rangers to take on a CEO role of the Kingsbridge National Ice Center, which is building a 9-plex in the Bronx.
Wow.
With a 5,000-seat center ice arena. And for the folks that are listening in, this area here is so sorely underdeveloped in ice rinks. We got a lot of young kids, actually 1.7 million kids under the age of 18 in this area that are looking for things to do. And we have 6 ice sheets in this area that are full-time. So we have a lot of kids that don't have the opportunity to play hockey, and we're building this 9-plex of the old Kingsbridge Armory that will be the biggest ice center in the world when we're finished in 2017. And it's a full-time job, but a great initiative, great for New York City and the hockey, and for the children, given the opportunities around this area.
Mark, on behalf of everyone here at TalkingSports.tv here at Charlie Fitz Whiskies, we want to say thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and we wish you all the best in the near future. Thanks a lot.
Guys, always never a problem talking hockey, so thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mess.
Okay, guys, good talking to you, Brian.
Okay, see you, Mess.
All right, that's Mark Messier. You got to say hello to him. First time in how long?
First time in a while, yeah.
And he remembers you.
Couple
You were worried
decades?
about him remembering you.
Yeah.
Well, I think it should be, Mark Messier should be remembering Brian once. If Brian remembers Mark Messier, I don't know. But anyway, that was a cool interview. Thank you, Josh, for lining that up. This is what you'll get here, folks, at TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitz Whiskies. You're going to get legends coming on the show, whether here at the bar or whether on the telephone or by Skype or what have you. This will be a regular occurrence with superstars just like Mark Messier. In fact, speaking of superstars, former NFL coach Herm Edwards will join us right after this. Don't go away.